And it's another edition of Hoops Adjacent on the Athletic NBA show. David Aldridge here in DC, Marcus in the Bay. But the epicenter, Marcus, of the NBA is now once again Milwaukee.
Just as it was for
exactly.
Kareem and Oscar.
You know what I'm saying? And a couple of years ago, it's Algonquin for the good land. Our man, Eric Name, is back with us. E-Name, what's up, boy?
I was gonna say chilling. That's my normal response. I'm not chilling. There's a
You're
lot
not
of
chilling.
shit.
I know you're not chilling.
There's a lot going on right now. So no, I'm not chilling. Not at all.
I was trying to remember who wore 0 last before Dame for the Bucks. I couldn't remember.
OJ Mayo, I believe.
OJ Mayo. Damn. All right.
Yeah, Uncle Juice.
Yes. Yes. Is he back in technically now?
I don't
remember if he's back in the good graces of the NBA or not.
No, he is. I just don't know if he's gonna find his way to an NBA roster.
Right.
Last he was seen, he was just destroying China.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, you've got a bigger story on your plate. The seismic NBA trade that nobody saw coming, and I like those are my favorite trades, by the way. The ones where everybody just goes, "What?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What? He got traded where?
I don't know what you're talking about. I knew it was happening.
Oh, okay. you had the inside. You had the scoop.
I just left it to see if Eric could get it, but he clearly failed me. But I knew.
That's on me. You have a high standard, and I failed you. So that's on me.
He had to get multiple sources, like back in the old days. Like you were told you had to get 3 sources before you went with something.
You need to get over that, bro. This is
that's
one source times.
No more.
These are one source times.
Somebody told me, so I'm good. Let's go. Man, so your boy John Horst doing the stealth work, Eric. Man, we've read various TikToks about how it came down, but did you think, forget Dame, did you think that there was a move to make? Obviously, Giannis wanted them to do something, but we were so close to the start of camp. Did you think they could still do something before camp starts?
I mean, honestly, you kind of looked at their offseason and you were trying to figure out, like, what could they even do, right? Bucks fans were like, yo, this was not good enough. You got knocked out in the first round. You got to do something. And the thing I kept telling people is, like, unless you want to trade Jrue Holiday, there's not a move out there because you got to sign Chris Middleton and you're not going to do a sign and trade and get anything. And you got to sign Brook Lopez, and a sign and trade for one of those for either guy isn't going to get anything. It's not going to work. That's not how sign and trades work, especially for dudes at that age. Like there's not a trade out there unless you want to trade Jrue Holiday. And that was for most Bucks fans, that was something like, yo, that was the guy that sealed the deal for us in 2021. He was the one that, had the big steal in game 5. He hit big shots in Brooklyn. That was the guy. How could I ever trade Jrue Holiday? And I mean, as you talk to people around the team, like, I think John Horst felt the same way, right? Like, how do I trade this guy? And it turned into, like, what was a really tough couple of weeks for John Horst, just emotionally, like, kind of coming to grips with that idea. And then in the final couple of days, like, oh, it's real. I actually have to trade this dude that, is beloved in the city, beloved by his teammates, beloved by me, John Horst. Like, part of my reputation is I'm the guy that traded all these first round picks, got the deal done, got Jrue Holiday to Milwaukee when in a similar kind of vein to this Dame Lillard trade. Like, no one expected the Bucks to get Jrue Holiday that offseason. Everyone was talking about the Nets or the Celtics, and then the Bucks came out of nowhere and did it. And, like, to me, it was just like, it was so hard to wrap your head and your brain around the idea that Jrue Holiday could be traded. And if the team was going to do it, it had to be for someone very good that you felt is an actual upgrade, which is hard to do because Jrue Holiday is a damn good player, as you've seen, as everyone's talked about the Celtics now kind of going right next to the Bucks as far as contenders in the East go. So I just thought it was such a hard idea to wrap your head around, that if the Bucks were going to make a move, you were going to play out this season, you were going to get to next summer, and if it wasn't good enough, all right, that's when, all right, rubber hits the road, big trade coming, got to do it to make sure that you can try to convince Giannis to stick around in Milwaukee. And John Horst, out of nowhere, just kind of found a way to do it. And to his credit, he kept that thing on lock. I guess it's to everyone, right? Like everyone involved,
Right.
to like with as much as people like to talk around this league, to pull something off like that, the biggest trade of the season, the only trade anyone's talking about for 3 months, and somehow you sneak in at the very last second and get it done. I just thought it's really impressive work by kind of everyone around.
Isn't it odd though that, I mean, it's very clear Giannis loves Jrue Holiday, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's
He
a
said
pretty strong.
Yesterday at media day, he said he's the greatest person I've ever met.
I mean, like it's so clear how he felt.
Better than moms? Come on.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and Giannis meets a lot of people. Like the greatest person I've ever met. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear though, right? That how he feels.
Yeah,
and yet it's probably his fault Jrue Holiday got traded.
I mean, it's absolutely impossible to untangle it, right? Like, how could you untangle the comments that he decided to make twice publicly this summer from the trade happening? There's no way. Whether or not John Horst was going to do this anyways, and John, like to his credit, is a very aggressive GM, and these are the kind of moves that he tries to make. You can't untangle it. You can't untangle those comments from this trade. So yeah, it's got to be like a really tough situation too. And like I've been trying to describe kind of the vibe at media day yesterday, and everyone is like so excited, right? Like this is amazing. We got Damian Lillard. I can't believe it. You know, 2 top 10 players in the league together in Milwaukee. Unbelievable. But then like you have that other side where it's like when you ask Giannis about it, he's like, yeah, the trade's really cool. But like Jrue was amazing. I love that dude. And you hear Chris Middleton talking about like, yeah, I got out of a workout, saw the trade, and my first reaction was like heartbroken that my brother, like the guy that we won this championship with. And if you think about Chris, like they go from winning a championship to getting on a private plane with Devin Booker, going to the Olympics, winning a gold medal. Yeah. So like 2 weeks
on like 2 days sleep.
Right, yeah, like
the best 3 weeks of Chris Middleton's life. Like undeniably. And he had a kid in there. So like all of that. Best 3 weeks of his life are Jrue Holiday right next to him. So it has been kind of weird because everyone's undeniably excited. And that for good reason, right? Like Damian Lillard is incredible. Him and Giannis together in the pick and roll is going to be ridiculous. But everyone on the team, or at least all the guys that are on the championship team, kind of had to deal with the fact like, whew, that guy, like that was our guy, and now he's gone. And it's kind of that bittersweet push and pull.
But can both things be true, right? Like it was very clear watching this team that perhaps it had peaked, right? And that's not shade to Jrue. I love Jrue. Like Drew's incredible, but that team as constructed, especially when you put in the financial situation, right? Like that team had peaked. I mean, and so
they had to pick one, right?
Yeah. And like you said, the one with the most value outside of Giannis, obviously, was Jrue. So in a sense, like it almost is like, hey man, this is if these mergers happen, this is probably as ideal as it gets. You get together, you win a title, and you break it up before it gets bitter, before you start hating, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, man, all right, we had a good run and we leave loving each other. Like,
for sure.
That's pretty ideal, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, as the mercenary business goes in the modern NBA, that's a pretty successful mercenary trip, right? 3 years, win a championship the first year, you know, it ends on a bit of a sour note with the first round loss, but at least you can say, like, if you want to, be like, well, you know, Chris was hurt last year. Giannis was hurt this year. So, you know, if those guys don't get hurt, maybe we do a three-peat. You can say that, like, that doesn't actually mean it would have happened, but like, at least you can say it, right? Yeah. Like you can have that kind of feeling. So
at minimum, you're a championship contender.
Yeah, you want a chip. That's right? But you want a chip with that guy. That's forever, right?
As far as everyone in Milwaukee is concerned, that banner is going to fly for as long as the city exists. Like, so yeah, I mean, it really is. It's tough. And I think it's even tougher just because everybody loves Jrue. Like, that's just the kind of dude he is. how great of a person he is, how much he kind of cares genuinely about other people. I think all of that made it more difficult. But to your point, Marcus, with Mike Budenholzer, for 5 straight years, the Bucks contended for titles. And in the 4 seasons that they lost, the problem overwhelmingly was the fact that in the fourth quarter, it just got really hard. They couldn't get shots up. They couldn't get good shots. They couldn't make the shots that they got. The offense ground to a halt. And Jrue Holiday hit some big shots, right? Like in that 2021 run, he hit just enough, right? Like it'd be a 2 for 15 night, and then on shot number 16, it's a step back Jimbo against the Nets, and you're like, all right, cool, let's go. Because what else can you say at that? Like he's not afraid of the moment. He just missed a bunch of shots, and with Dame Lillard, that is a clear upgrade, right? Like in the first kind of like analysis story I wrote after it, like no one in the league takes more 30-foot 3-pointers than Dame. No one shoots a better percentage from 27 to 30 outside of Steph Curry, right? Like if you're talking about the history of basketball, I mean, there's an argument to be made. He's the second greatest 3-point shooter of all time. Like it's Marcus's man Steph Curry, and then it's Dame. Like that is the level of shooting. It's not just that like, oh, he's a threat off the dribble. He's capital THREAT threat.
It's even
he's
bigger
a maker
than that,
off the dribble.
Yeah, it's even like what you're talking about. He's a terror. Like it's like the data is there, but to me the difference with Dame is like he's one of those people where he will hit 7 in a row. Like, and you know this, and you have to do it, which. Like, I mean, that's exactly what Giannis needs, right? Like somebody, you could say, yo, 30 feet. Like they showed when he showed when Dame did his little goodbye to Portland, that last shot, what was the last picture? It was the one he hit over Paul George from like 38 feet. That's what he does.
Casually.
Like, to me, that's the thing that Dame does. It's like, I remember even when he played against the Warriors, it was like, yo, you get out there because this dude will hit 7 in a row. Like he's got that kind of Klay Thompson gene where it's like you just can't let him get hot. So even when he's off, he's still a terror because that's what he does. To me, that's like, I mean, you can't ask for a more perfect fit with Giannis because that's exactly what he needs, somebody to prevent you from packing the paint.
Well, so it's so interesting, right? Like so often with super teams, right? Like if we want to use that vernacular, like you're going to be, who's going to have the ball? How's it going to work? Like, how do you play a 2-man game? So you're thinking through, KD and Beal and Book. Yeah, you can probably run like a pick and roll with those guys, but it's not one of the greatest shooters of all time in a pick and roll with the greatest roll man in the history of basketball. Like, that is what we're talking about. It's not just like it's a good fit. It is a perfect fit. And then you look at kind of like the rest of the roster. Oh, you still have a big man around to clean up and protect the rim and Brook Lopez. Oh, you have Chris Middleton, who during the 21 run was their killer, right? Like postseason killer in the biggest moment. That dude is going to hit clutch shots and do his thing. And you just kind of look at how it all fits together. And you got to, it couldn't be more perfect. Like, yes, there are questions about the defense, but offensively, like we'll just score more buckets than you. Like, what are you going to do when you have to build a 5-man wall 5 feet in front of the rim to stop Giannis, and then Dame is hitting shots from 30 feet away? Like the gravity that pulls you in opposite directions is just insane. And I mean, I'm excited to see what it looks like on the floor for the first preseason game on Sunday or whenever it is that those guys end up getting on the floor together. Like it is going to be something that is, one, it's difficult to imagine. And then 2, once you see it, it's going to be something to reckon with.
Yeah. I just don't, I mean, I've been thinking about all the great pick and roll, duos going back to Isaiah. And when I first started, Isaiah and Bill Laimbeer, which was lethal because they could both shoot. And I can't think of just, theoretically a better one than this one. Like, I don't know how you cover this. I'm not sure what the plan is to cover this pick and roll. We all know it's coming.
Yeah.
What are you they're going to run it 30 times, which they should. What are you going to do?
I mean, so the tough part is like, I think you eventually get to a spot where you just have to pick one, right? Like, all right, we're either going to let Giannis run free or we're going to let Dame shoot a bunch of
You're
threes.
picking Giannis. You're picking Giannis. Like, there's
Probably.
no like this is a 3-point league. You got to take
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
You can't let
Yeah.
Dame go off. So
I mean,
think
but
about that, Eric. You're
Yeah.
saying go Giannis, be free. Like,
well, so like the funny thing
that's
was
crazy.
like the day it happens, like that night, I was starting to like watch film and stuff, right? So I was watching Yusuf Nurkic pick and roll like highlights, right? And this man, there is so much space because teams just double the ball out of Dame's hands at 35 feet. So it's Yusuf Nurkic on a 4-on-3 in the
Right.
middle of the floor.
Right in
And
the
it-
Draymond spot.
The
And that's
Draymond spot, yeah, same thing.
Right.
Same thing.
100%. And like, okay, so you're gonna give Giannis, like, the whole concept behind stopping Giannis is always having an extra defender in the gap, building the wall. So not only are you gonna go from like all 5 defenders need to be there, you're gonna make the defense a man down, and you're gonna try to stop Giannis in space. Good luck. So
Yeah.
so while you say like, oh, it should be Giannis because it's a 3-point league, the chance of him missing a dunk are pretty low. I would guess on his career, 99.5%.
Right. It's a high percentage shot to dunk.
No, you're right. We just know how we watch it with the Warriors.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. It's different. Like there's a different.
The way it feels.
I'm fascinated by this. Like Steph's a 40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
But they act like it's 90.
Right.
Like it's the same with Dame. It's like
well, it's so
the
debilitating.
terror. Yeah,
it's just
it's
debilitating.
the terror. It just ruins everything. Like
Yeah.
you just can't let Dame get good looks at the basket. Like you have no chance.
Right.
With Giannis, you probably feel like you have a more of a chance.
Well, you'll
right?
foul him.
Yeah,
do,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
You'll
it's
just
like,
foul him.
There's a but the way people like Dame and Steph, they just terrorize defenses. It's a fear, right? It's like if Dame is coming off the screen, and it's not, especially Dame too. That's the other thing. Like he's gonna. Like it's gonna be a thing. That's the thing about Steph. You're getting ridiculed. It's gonna be all over the place. Like so you get dunked on by Giannis. It's like, yeah, man, of course. But like Dame cooking you.
No, I hear you. But also Giannis dunking on your head 5 or 6 times in a game, getting on that viral. That's gonna be.
You don't lose no sleep over that.
Not a lot of guys gonna sign up for that too.
Nah, you don't lose no sleep over that. You lose sleep over.
Oh, come on, man. What's my dude? My dude that got dunked on by Blake. What was my dude that tried to
You don't even remember him.
Mozgov?
You don't even remember.
No, the other dude. No, I can't remember. Anyway, guys who try to defend dunks, they get clowned.
I'm just saying, Giannis dunk on people all the time, and it's not all over the place. We
remember
this. We remember. Bye. We were like, those are the moments people are. I'm telling you, they are terrified of it. So I'm telling you, Eric, watch. It's gonna be unbelievable. Dame is gonna be like 1 for 7, and they're gonna still trap it. And it's like Giannis is gonna have 50. And it's like you're gonna be like, why are you doing this? But this is how the league is conditioned. That's the mind blowing part. The other cool part about this, I think, that is getting under notice, but we watched it with Andrew Wiggins. Watch Chris Middleton in this, because the issue with the Bucks, and we've talked about this, is they've got a clear number 1. The question has been number 2. Right. Like if it's Jrue sometimes and Middleton sometimes, neither one of those dudes are like, all right, I'm locked in as my number 2 star. Sometimes they're not. You get Middleton back at where he belongs. You know what I'm saying? In a spot like that. So now you're talking about this setup where you got to deal with Dame coming off the pick, and you got to deal with who's open. Like this is the Andrew Wiggins spot. Like this is
and they're
the
wide
Andrew
open.
Wiggins spot. Yeah,
they're wide open.
It's now Chris Middleton.
Yeah,
like that to me is the underrated part about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris did it once, right? 2021, like he was nails in that run. The last 2 years, it hasn't been the same. Obviously, he was hurt in 2022. Last year, he was good. He was 24, 6 and 6 against the Heat, but it wasn't like that Chris Middleton, the 2021 Chris Middleton. And I mean, I just think down the line, like you look at all of that stuff, and I mean, even Brook Lopez, right? Like Brook Lopez shot 37% from three last year. He's a dude that can stretch the floor. Also, he can just score and dunk. And the other thing, I was thinking about too is, like we think about Dame Giannis pick and roll. How are you going to stop it? All right, I agree. That's going to be tough. You could just have Brook Lopez set a screen for Dame. Dame has his own gravity. Like, you don't need to put Giannis and Dame together. You can just have Brook do it. You could have, think about Bobby Portis, right? Like, Bobby Portis can be a part of the Stager lineup and just set screens for Dame and get wide open free throw jumpers for as long as
or get
as he
Dame
wants.
wide open, right? Just
100%
on screens. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So like they're just set up in ways that like, all right, let's say you're running middle pick and roll with Dame and Brook. You put Giannis in the corner, okay. Now it's
Giannis
3
in a dunker spot.
In the dunker,
that's what I'm saying.
just coming
like
down baseline.
4 on 3, and then all of a sudden, all right, we're talking about getting clowned on for getting dunked on. Like you just gave him a runway, and he's going to catch the ball and put it on you on two hands. Like the possibilities with it are truly just kind of ridiculous to think about it. And the thing I've been trying to get across to people is like both those dudes, Giannis and Dame, scored 30 points per game last year. 2 of the 6 guys in the league to do it. They're not going to probably both score at the same level this year, right? Like everything will come down a little bit because you have to put it a little bit in motion. But like both these guys, for the decade that they have been in their own situations, have captained top 5 offenses multiple times and top 10 defense or top 10 offenses pretty much all the time, right? Like the peak is top 5, but typically that's a top 10 offense. And that's not to say Dame hasn't played with talented players, but they were the captains. They were the ones, the driving force behind these offenses. So now you can stagger them with whoever you want because they've been doing that stuff for forever. And there's just like the waves that this team can potentially attack you with is really, to me, where it gets really tough to figure out how other teams are going to do it for 48 minutes because all of a sudden you have Dame working against a second unit and okay, good luck. You have Giannis working against the second unit. Okay, good luck. Like it is truly, it's just an absolute embarrassment of riches because they have so much on that end. And that's not to say it's going to happen overnight, right? Like this trade happened 5 days before training camp. So anything first time head coach Adrian Griffin had, let's just scrap that. We're going to start all over because the offense that you're running with Jrue and Giannis and Chris is a whole lot different than the one that you're running with Dame and Giannis and Chris.
But they got Terry Stotts on the bench, which is serendipity. Like I know they didn't know 3 months ago that they were going to get Dame, but if anybody can draw up some stuff, Terry's great at it, like
100%. It was funny talking to Dame yesterday. He was like, yeah, I saw Terry in the facility the other day. And I was like, hey, you remember those sets we used to run? Like, how about we get some of those back in the playbook? And it's like, oh man, like you already have that familiarity. So it's kind of difficult to even comprehend that this is an offense that teams around the league are going to have to try to stop.
So who is we know like the top, you can write down the top 5 or 6, but somebody's going to have to be that 7, 8. Is it Beauchamp? Is it Malik Beasley? I mean, he's on a prove it, right? He's on a prove it season. So it could be him. He's put up numbers before in this league. Who do you think? Because they had to trade Grayson Allen, obviously, in this deal. Who gets the first shot at that? Let me put it that way.
So part of me would say it's Pat Connaughton, right? Like Pat has been there.
Pat, my bad.
It's all good, but no, like championship proven. Him and Bobby are both, kind of like the bench guys from that championship team that maybe Pat slots in. Malik Beasley is going to get a chance for sure. Talking to people around the team, he's been having fun in the scrimmages playing with Giannis, which I think every shooter in the history of the Milwaukee Bucks over the last 10 years has felt the same way. But I think Beasley can get a ton of open shots. I think they're going to give MarJon a real chance. I think when you look at, him at 6'7" with the 7'1" wingspan, if you're talking about how you actually try to slow down other teams, the offensive lift is going to be light for MarJon. It's stand in the corner, sometimes cut in from there, sometimes hit a 3, whatever you need to do. Like ball's not going to be in your hands a lot. focus on the defensive end. We need you chasing around all the shooting guards. We need you to try to, hold up against some small forwards. I think they're going to give him a real chance. And I don't know if that necessarily means he's going to start. Maybe that's Pat, like a veteran that's played with Dame, that's played with Giannis, that can handle that like a little bit better, and kind of do the dirty work. And that's something that he really enjoys doing. But I think when you're looking at it, it's like kind of those three guys. And then I think one other thing that was just kind of interesting as a footnote this offseason was like, so if you look at Jay Crowder, 20 months ago, he was starting for the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs. And I understand, like, obviously last season was funky and things didn't go right. And when he came to Milwaukee, he didn't look quite right. But they got him on a vet minimum. And to me, him signing that deal felt like, guys, that's on me. I know that I wasn't what I needed to be last year. Give me one more year. Like, give me a chance to prove this. And if you look at kind of like roster versatility and potential small ball lineups and stuff like that, Jay Crowder is a big dude that can hopefully help you play small ball, but it's not that small because Giannis is on the floor. So like you can maybe do some of that stuff. So those are kind of the four options. And I do think, like I wrote it on Sunday when the Bucks signed campaign, like I do think all four of those options present pretty diverse offerings. Like those four guys aren't the same. So I do think Adrian,
great flexibility.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say like they're all great and they should all play, but I do think
they can all play a role. Sure.
Adrian Griffin can play the card, see how the hand goes, and all right, well, let's try this card instead and see how that goes. So I think they can kind of work through this stuff. And with as good as the top four are, you're probably doing that in a bunch of games that you're winning. Right. Like you don't probably have to suffer too much in the standings to play through some of these experiments and play it out and try to figure out what your best lineups are going forward.
See, I feel like MarJon is going to be like a critical piece. And to me, Dame changes like the projection on him a little bit. Cause I think you even wrote about like how to get him on the court, he had to make shots. Like he wanted him to shoot better, but the 6'7" wingspan, the athleticism, right? Like you kind of need that. Like the issue with this team, if there's any issue, it's how you're gonna deal with Donovan Mitchell, how you gonna deal with Jimmy Butler, right? How you gonna deal with
Jaylen Brown
and Jay, like you know what I'm saying? And obviously you have Giannis as a great defender, but it's like that point of attack defender, which brings me to my question for you is like, one of the things, especially when they won, like obviously they had Jrue locking up. Like that was such a major part of winning a championship was Jrue's ability to disrupt and take a guy away. I'm just curious, is there any thought to Chris Middleton kind of getting back to his lockup days, or should we just let that go? Like he's older now, he's had some injuries because he used to get down, man. Chris Middleton used to be a problem on defense.
Yeah. So one of the questions
when the answer start with like
one of the questions that I got to ask Chris yesterday at media day was, hey, like you got to go down memory lane a little bit. During 2021 against the Nets, everyone remembers PJ Tucker like football tackling Kevin Durant, right? Like that's you remember those two like going at it, Wanda Durant on the sideline being like, hey, lay off my son, it's like all that. So you remember that. But what a lot of people don't remember is the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, overtime in game 7, Chris Middleton was on Kevin Durant. And in those moments, Chris Middleton had a couple of strips on Kevin Durant. Chris Middleton made it tough on Kevin Durant. And that Kevin Durant was doing a lot. I'm not trying to take anything away from him.
Right. But he's made him work for it. That's all you can do.
But he made him work for it. He's 6'7". I think one thing that's always underrated about Chris is kind of how strong he is. And when I brought it up, he was like, yeah, I do think that is like a real possibility, right? Like you have Dame, you have Giannis. My workload is, potentially going to be a little bit easier. Maybe that is something that I can get back to doing, because in the first year Bud was here, that was Chris, right? Like it was, hey, we have Giannis. We're going to let him, roam around on defense. On defense, what we need from you is you're going to cover Kawhi. You're going to cover Jason Tatum. You're going to cover Kevin Durant. And that was like one of the very first stories I wrote about Bud and Chris trying to figure out like how all this works in 2018 was like them trying to get more out of Chris defensively and shoot more threes on offense. And I just think, to your point, Marcus, like I feel like Chris believes he has a lot to prove. I think over the last couple of years, he gets hurt in that series against the Celtics, and everybody goes, well, if Chris was healthy. And then in 2023, he just wasn't able to stay healthy. He kept having the thing with the knee. And just listening to him talk yesterday, I think the scope that he got this summer on that knee, I think he feels like this is the first time he's been healthy in 2 years, like since that championship run. And I mean, Chris is a pretty like down to earth, low key dude, and I gotta say, on his Instagram, I saw a couple workout videos, shirtless Chris Middleton, and I was like, okay, what are we trying? What are we trying to tell the world here, Chris? Like,
Right.
Okay, all right, renewed Chris Middleton, ready to go.
And that's how you know when they're locked in, DA, because they put it on IG.
When the shirt comes off,
for Chris Middleton,
shirt comes off on IG.
Yeah. I was like, all right, Chris.
You know what's funny about that, E?
What?
His 2 star teammates is looking at him like, man, what are you doing? That's not what we do, bro. Like, what are you doing?
That ain't for us. That ain't for us.
We don't roll like that. We don't roll like that.
Oh my God.
I know this is a crazy question, DA. I wondered your thoughts about this.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know the answer, but I want to ask the question anyway. Is there any possibility that this Giannis Dame thing doesn't work? It feels like they are so perfectly aligned personality wise, right? Like how they think about the game, how they think about their reputation. Like it feels so perfect. Can you foresee any way that like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way to say like, this might not work, or is there something about this pairing that we need to consider before it goes in? Because will they just spend so much time trying to not be that dude that they end up clashing because they're the same? You know what I'm saying? Like
I know what I know, and it's I know what you're saying. Like you're trying to figure out, not to be cynical, but you're just saying, is there some way this couldn't work, right? Just knowing Dame the way that I know Dame a little bit, I think I know him a little bit. And people have said, and rightly so, and I get the way the trade has been framed, that Giannis has never played with somebody as good as Damian Lillard who's going to change his life. Well, Damian Lillard's never played with anybody as good as Giannis, and he's going to change his life too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
like not even close either.
Not even close. All due respect to CJ and Marcus and all the guys that he's played with, but come on,
not even close.
It's not close. So, I do think Dame does things for the right reason most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so he's a pretty high character guy. So I just can't see a scenario where he's going to flex for whatever reason, even if he's in the right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see that, because he knows I'm 33. This is my last shot. You know, and I'm not saying he's going to retire after this year. I'm saying he's in the place. This team he's on now provides him his last great opportunity to win a championship. And I just don't know how.
Arguably his first real one too.
Well, yeah, right. You know, after so many years in the league. So, boy, I can't see a scenario where he's going to be the reason why it doesn't work. And I definitely can't see Giannis getting in the way. You know, I mean, you did kind of say, I need some help. You know,
right.
You know, he did. And this is not the first time you've done it, by the way. You know what I'm saying? True. And they went out and got
I'm biased, DA. So I'm like, man, maybe it's something I don't see. I have a Dame bias. So
I love Dame, man. That's my guy. I love Dame. So I'm happy for him.
Y'all better hope Dame don't win a title. I might be able to joke him butt naked, like talking crazy.
I can't see it. I'm trying to find a way this doesn't work.
Party.
I can't see a way this doesn't work. I just can't see it. I can't see it. There's just too much that works that makes this work.
We've watched like Draymond and KD figure it out, right? Like,
and they didn't even like each other.
You know, Shaq figure it out. We've watched people like I mean, these two feel like
right?
they're like a TV show, like
Right.
buddy cops, right?
Right.
Like,
I mean,
it's unbelievable.
And I was going to say too, like it also probably helps out a little bit that Dame is older than Giannis, right? Like that, whether or not there would ever be like ego issues, I think both these dudes are just going to be jacked to play with each other. But when you like think through it a little bit, you know, Giannis can still be the guy, right? Giannis is clearly the guy. He came to my city. I didn't go to his. Like, I'm still the guy. And yeah, maybe, you know, Dame has the ball in his hands a little bit more or whatever, but I still put up 30 and I won defensive player of the year. Like you can find the path. And that's kind of what I was speaking to before is like, their games are going to have to change, right? Like Giannis can't have a 37% usage rate or whatever it was last year.
Right, right.
It's going to have to come down too. But in the end, like it's healthy and it fits and it works. And both of them can get their shine in the way that I think anyone would want to get their shine, right? Like you kind of listen to Dame talk about how tough it's been to be in Portland. And yeah, you can get the individual accolades. Like he's got 7 All-NBA kind of recognition. But like, if you're not in the mix for a championship, it's different. Like it's just different it feels more empty. And that's not like through any fault of like Damian, like he didn't do anything. He kept trying to win games. He just didn't have the horses. And now you get that spot where you're going to get the individual recognition, but you're also going to be on one of the best teams in the league. Like that, I think that's going to feel different and ultimately satisfying and fulfilling for both of those guys.
I don't even think they care about the shine.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, they do obviously because they're superstars and you want to be recognized, but I think they care more about the chip on their shoulder. And
I agree.
If I gotta say I ain't getting the shine to keep the chip there, then that's what I got.
Right.
It just feels like
they make up some
like
stuff. Is what you say.
They'll freestyle some stuff, right? Like, can you I bet you I'll put money on it at some point this season, either Dame or Giannis will say nobody believes in this team. We're all saying, like,
absolutely.
We're all like, this is unbelievable. They're like, oh, nobody thought we would win.
Right. All our haters out there.
My favorite story I wrote last year was about Giannis making up Mamu talking shit to him in a practice.
Oh, right,
and Mama's like, I didn't even say anything. Like he tried to end my life and I didn't even say anything. These dudes will find a way.
Some MJ
Jordan
shit.
story, DA.
LeBron Smith. He just made it up.
Smith, there you go.
Totally made it up. I was there. He made it up. Oh man! All right, Nate. We gotta get you out of here so you can get to practice and see this juggernaut in action. Man, it's gonna be fun. My wife's from Wisconsin. I always like going up to Milwaukee, so I have no problems being up there for several days and weeks in the spring. It's pretty up there. All good. You'll see a lot of me. So
I can't wait.
Who's a name before you go? Who has the most to lose if they don't win it all?
I mean, I do think both of the stars, right? Like if both of the stars are saying like, hey, we did our own thing in our own cities and now we're together and they don't win, like that, it probably hurts the legacy. That's not to say they couldn't do it in year 2 or anything like that and get redemption. We've seen that many times before when quote unquote super teams get formed. I mean, this is a really tough spot for Adrian Griffin. Like a first time NBA head coach.
Very difficult.
Thrown into this fire. And we've seen Nick Nurse win a championship in that spot. So like that's not to say it's impossible. But it's a tough job. And Adrian Griffin kind of getting that chance the year after Bud gets fired. Like I do think if you're looking through the people that could lose in these situations, I think Giannis and Dame are up there, but also Adrian Griffin. It's a really tough spot for him. I mean, I shouldn't say I like don't envy him or anything. Like he gets to coach the best team in the league. That's great. But the pressure that comes along with it's going to be serious.
No question. But Marcus, you saw a first-time head coach do all right in the Bay.
He did fine, right?
Did okay.
He did just fine. Hey, when you got the horses,
exactly.
Got the horses, everybody looks like a better coach. Right?
Everybody's smart. E-Name, thank you for joining us, Brohim. I appreciate it as always.
Hey, don't be acting all big time now. Like, you know what I'm saying? He about to start.
You have to call his people. He's got people now, Marcus.
So of all people to say don't start acting big time, Marcus Thompson over here, right? Like New York Times bestseller. Like
I'm stunned he still does the show with me, Eric.
That's what I'm saying. I can't
we ain't
believe
gonna be able to get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, gonna be like, come on, man. Can we get something? Don't. I better not see you stunting on this, man. Come on.
All right. Going the other way when we see it when we come down.
I'm gonna have to hit up Zora, be like, Zora, man, can you tell
Marcus
Eric to call me back?
Marcus who? No, I don't know Marcus.
No, exactly. So. All right, so leave that 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get this fine American podcast. Marcus, my brother, if they can't leave them 5 stars, what do they have to do?
Keep it to yourself, you haters.
Oh, we're gonna leave you in Portland. Like Dame left Portland.
Straight from Portland. That's crazy.